Imagine a Supreme Court term that's not just another routine session. It's a high-stakes showdown testing the limits of presidential power, potentially altering the balance of democracy itself. This upcoming session kicks off with monumental decisions that could redefine how much authority a president wields, alongside critical rulings on voting access and the protections for LGBTQ individuals. It's a moment that demands our attention, as the court's conservative majority has already shown some openness to bold claims of executive control in initial reviews. But here's where it gets controversial. Could this lead to an era where presidential actions overshadow congressional checks and balances? Take, for instance, the sharp critique from liberal Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who cleverly referenced the whimsical world of Calvin and Hobbes after a ruling that slashed $783 million in research funding. She described it as Calvin Ball jurisprudence with a twist, noting that while Calvin Ball's rule is there are no fixed rules, here it seems the administration always comes out on top. This playful yet pointed analogy highlights a growing concern about unpredictable judicial outcomes favoring one side. For beginners diving into legal jargon, think of Calvin Ball as a game where rules change on a whim, much like how some argue the court's decisions are bending norms to support presidential initiatives. As the justices delve deeper, they might adopt a more cautious stance toward certain Trump policies, such as his tariff impositions and proposed curbs on birthright citizenship. Irv Gorenstein, head of the Supreme Court Institute at Georgetown University, warns that if the familiar conservative-liberal divide persists in handling Trump's urgent appeals, this could become one of the most divisive terms in recent history. And this is the part most people miss. These cases aren't just legal battles. They're shaping the future of economic policies, immigration, and executive accountability. Let's break down the three major cases scrutinizing presidential authority, set to unfold over the next 10 months. First up, in early November, the court will examine the legitimacy of Trump's extensive tariffs, a cornerstone of his economic strategy. Lower courts have ruled that the president lacks the unilateral authority to enact such broad tariffs under an emergency powers law, which allows actions in times of crisis but doesn't grant unchecked taxation rights. States and small businesses suing argue that this oversteps Congress's role in setting taxes, potentially harming local economies. On the flip side, the administration contends the law empowers the president to control imports, including through tariffs, and even some dissenting judges on a federal appeals court have supported this view, paving a possible path for the Supreme Court. For those new to this, tariffs are essentially taxes on imported goods, meant to protect domestic industries but often sparking debates over job impacts and international trade relations. Come December, the justices will tackle Trump's ability to dismiss independent agency heads without cause, likely overturning or significantly limiting a nearly century-old precedent that required justification, such as dereliction of duty, before removing Senate-approved officials. The outcome seems predictable, as conservatives have permitted these firings to proceed despite lower court objections, while the three liberal justices have consistently opposed them. This case underscores a broader tension. Should presidents have more freedom to appoint and remove key figures? Or does that erode the independence of agencies designed to operate free from political whims? Another pending matter involves Trump's executive order attempting to end birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. to undocumented or temporary parents. This challenges over 125 years of established practice and an 1898 Supreme Court decision affirming that anyone born on U.S. soil is a citizen. Lower courts have blocked the order as unconstitutional, and the administration is appealing. For clarity, birthright citizenship, rooted in the 14th Amendment, means that citizenship is granted by birth, regardless of parents' status. Think of it as a foundational principle ensuring equality, but now it's under fire. The case might be heard in late winter or early spring, potentially setting a precedent that could affect millions. Shifting gears, the court might deliver big wins for Republicans on voting rights and campaign finance. with implications for fair representation. A Louisiana redistricting case, argued mid-October, puts the fate of congressional districts with majority Black, Hispanic, or Native American populations at risk. The Republican-led state has dropped its defense of a map that elected 2 Black Congress members and is pushing for an end to race-based considerations in drawing district lines. This could fundamentally alter the Voting Rights Act, which has protected minority voting power since 1965. Chief Justice John Roberts and his conservative colleagues have previously expressed doubts about race-conscious policies, including their 2023 ruling against affirmative action in college admissions. Experts warn that Louisiana's stance might enable southern states to redraw maps, eliminating most majority Black districts, which have been Democratic bastions. The court heard arguments once before but didn't decide, and this second round is unusual, often signaling a major shift, like the 2010 Citizens United case that unleashed more independent election spending. But here's where it gets controversial. Is prioritizing race in redistricting essential for equality, or does it unfairly advantage certain groups? And this is the part most people miss. Such changes could dilute minority voices in Congress, affecting everything from policy to representation. Republicans, backed by the Trump administration, are also pushing to remove caps on political party spending coordinated with candidates for Congress and the presidency. The justices are reviewing an appellate decision upholding a 50-year-old federal election law provision, which Democrats want preserved and the court affirmed in 2001. Yet Roberts, celebrating 20 years as Chief Justice, has overseen the dismantling of multiple campaign finance rules. No argument date is set, but this could flood elections with even more money, raising questions about influence and corruption. On the LGBTQ front, transgender women and girls are facing scrutiny over their right to join school sports teams. Over 24 states have passed laws excluding them from certain competitions. But lower courts in Idaho and West Virginia have ruled in favor of transgender athletes. The Supreme Court, after upholding a ban on gender-affirming care for youth in June, without addressing broader transgender rights, swiftly agreed to hear these appeals. They touch on constitutional equal protection and Title IX, the law that boosted female sports participation since 1972. No date is set for arguments, but this could clarify whether biological sex or gender identity determines eligibility. For beginners, Title IX ensures equal opportunities in education, including sports, but debates rage over fairness and inclusion. And this is the part most people miss. How do we balance transgender rights with concerns about competitive equity? Finally, whispers of change surround Justice Samuel Alito, who turned 76 in April, relatively young for the court. He might retire in 2026 to avoid a potential Democratic Senate flip next year and a Democratic White House win in 2028, allowing Trump to appoint a younger conservative confirmed by the GOP-led Senate. Alito's recent book deal, after nearly 2 decades of waiting, unlike his quicker colleagues, adds intrigue, though he declined comment. He's not the oldest. Clarence Thomas, at 77, shows no signs of stepping down before becoming the longest-serving justice in 2028. These cases promise to be polarizing, testing the boundaries of power and rights in ways that could echo for generations. Do you believe the court should expand presidential authority, or is this a dangerous overreach? Should race play a role in voting maps, or is it time to move beyond it? And how should we handle transgender participation in sports? Fair play or full inclusion? Share your opinions in the comments. Let's discuss these controversies openly.